Even up to
Ujjayi, and welcome to the Wisdom of the NILE show. I'm here, we're broadcasting on Bless FM. And my name is Nahibsa Nesebik. And I'm the host for tonight's show. First of all, I'm here representing the Health Center. And first of all, we want to acknowledge the divine world. We also want to acknowledge the world of the dead, the ancestors. And as we would say, we go back on myself there, the divine world. If it wasn't for them, there would be no existence. So It goes without saying. And to the divine, to the world of the dead, they are our ancestors, and they're the one that's given the intermediate role that they play between this dimension and the other dimension, which is the non-physical, the non-material, and the material world. So we want to give honor also and respect to Prophet Nebnaba Lamusa Morandenebig. Yeah. So I just said we're going to give honor and respect to Prophet Nebnaba Lamusa Morandenebig, a Dogon high priest from the Ngoma people of Burkina Faso. And Master Naba, he was a master of the Omtam science, which is what they would call geomancy. And amongst that, really, Master Naba had a very, very large portfolio of knowledge, It goes without saying to list them all. And this knowledge basically is knowledge and understanding on colonial education, which he had from a young age. And alongside that, he was also doing the traditional and spiritual knowledge, and he excelled to a level where he actually surpassed his masters. And so, Master Naba, from a young age, he had a lot of kind of prevalent, big, high hierarchy peoples that was interested in basically his source of knowledge. And, from a young age, he was very, very, very knowledgeable. So there was something special about Master Naba from he was born. And we all come here with a destiny. But as we say within initiation, compared to us here in the West, there, when a child is coming, when an ancestor is coming, a reading will be done. So they would know who the ancestor is coming. So therefore they would know how to prepare for that person and assist that person on their journey. And so, this is why initiation really is so important, really, because there's a lot of things that's been hidden or kept away from us here in the West. And we've lost that source of knowledge and understanding of how to do things. So, Master Naba, being able to kind of say to speak 13 different languages, this kind of aided him really on his travels around the world, where he was requested in various different places around the world to come and speak on various different topics. As I said, his knowledge, he was he was a archaeologist, geologist. Master Naba was versed in many multiple different things, really. And so he was in demand, really, for his knowledge, really. And so, he was a cultivist, cultural activist, which was very important to him, really. And, he fought hard, really, to preserve and to maintain, traditional practices, such as farming, which is so important, really, when we see how nowadays there's a lot of kind of GM crop being planted. And so his aim was to try to keep things as traditional, as clean as possible, And so for thousands of years, they've been able to preserve themselves. And so this was one of the criteria that he was passionate about, to continue to maintain, that side of things as well as the spiritual side of things. So Master Naba, he wrote multiple amount of books, but some of the most popular ones, I would say popular, the ones that we tend to be using more like in initiation, is the Philosophy Podium, and this is the only book actually written by a true Dogon. So what else you're seeing out there, everything else you're seeing out there is just like plagiarized version of what the truth really is. So one of the books, as I said, was a Philosophy Podium. another one. No, within the philosophy podium, it's a very deep book. As I said, the topics in there more or less covers like a lot of the stuff we actually do, covering initiation. So it's a very deep book, but it's a book that's well worth having within your collection because there is so much in there to learn. Then there's an Edge Patah. That is like a book really that has a lot of kind of say like parables. It's a book that is good for children. It's good for initiation. You'll find that before Master Naba does any lectures out there, he usually would tell one of these stories. So, which they're like antidotes really that, sort of like it gives him that starting point really with whatever is going to be delivered. Yeah. And then there's the book of purification. Now that book is very, very good in a sense that we have our Zemzems, our daily Zemzem prayers that we do, and what the book actually offers you out there is how to prepare yourself, how to clean yourself, how to spiritually clean yourself and make yourself ready to put yourself to your ancestors or the divine world. So in there it has the Ekar rules, it has the prayers. There's prayers that we say at different intervals throughout like our Zemzem. It's got the prayers there in the Medu language, and it's got the translation also to them. It also has like all the various different positions like of cleaning yourself, and it takes you through stage by stage, so you get like a good understanding of how to actually clean yourself, which is so important really, that we present ourselves. As they say, cleanliness is next to godliness, and it literally means that, in the spiritual and in the physical sense. Now, so that's some of his legacy that he left behind, alongside, not to mention, like all the different DVDs, CDs of the various different lectures, again, that he does on topics that's covered throughout initiation. And these are priceless. You sit there, you listen to them really, right? And the more you listen to them, is the more you get from them, And so there's those. There's also the sidereal calendar, which is also like a very important tool that we use in initiation, because with that it helps us to navigate our sense of time and space. And it might not seem relevant to you, but if you was going somewhere and you know where you're going, you need to know where you are. And so what the calendar is, it actually gives you, it's actually connected to the celestial. That's how the calendar was based off the Sirius star and the cycle of that star. And so it's actually connected to the celestial bodies out there with nature, as opposed to like the Gregorian calendar, which was just made up like Pope Gregory came in one day and decided that, yep, today's going to be the beginning of our day, really, right? So hence we have this calendar that really there's no reference point to it really whatsoever, apart from it was just put there for us to follow, as opposed to the sidereal calendar that is aligned with like all the events, all the different happenings out there in the universe within our dimension that we know it. It gives us as I said, a sense of time and space. It gives us the spiritual days that is more energetically good for us, really, right, to do certain spiritual work. Our month consists of like 30 days in the month, and it's 10-day decan. And so within that decan, each decan, each decan is governed by different deities and things. And so within that decan, we have 2 days that is energetically the best days for us, really, right, to go towards our ancestors and the divine world. And so it gives you also all the other different spiritual days that we acknowledge, that we kind of acknowledge, yeah. So that the calendar is as we said is a very important tool for us, really, to help us to navigate our time. There's also the 77 commandment. We'll mention that a little later on, really, within the show. But that's also like what is our A to Z, really, to navigate ourselves through life, to try to get to where we really need to get to. So that's a very, very important kind of thing to have. Like, it's good to have that on your wall. It's just the do's and don'ts in life, and we all need something to kind of to guide us, and so they're not easy to follow. There's 77 as opposed to the 10 commandment, which is given to us really by the European religion. But the 77. It's got a lot. It's very, very difficult to follow that piece there. That calendar, it's very challenging, really, and that takes us many lifetimes, really, probably to actually get to achieve those commandments, those principles, those audiences. Yeah. So never fear for the future. For you, obviously, for humanity, if it's left in the hands of the Western modern society and their ego, well, we can see what's happening out there, really, right? And tomorrow is supposed to be another one of those days, really, right? That's going to be like a testing time for everyone out there. And that's spelling out doom for a lot of people, a lot of businesses, things like that are going to be crashing when this thing takes place tomorrow. So, yeah. So humanity, they have to come to some kind of agreement that we have to do something differently, and we have to stop trying to reinvent the wheel, because the wheel's already been invented. So there's no need, really, for us here in the West to be trying to do something that's already been done and tried and tested over thousands of years, So trying to do something, as we say, the human brain, it can't really invent what it's not being exposed to. So in that sense, we have to Sankofa, and Sankofa is to go back and fetch. And so really the problems, really, that we're having, that's going to be the way forward, because for hundreds of years now, since the time they've had control of things, they've been trying multiples of different things, and it's not working. So something differently has to be done then, really, in order, right, to get the changes, because, as they say, you do the same thing over the same way over and over again, you're going to get the same result. And this is what's been happening, that they've not learned, really, like, from what was there before. And so, to what did the work for thousands of years within the traditional, they have to go back, really, because, as I said, the Kemetic traditional culture is thousands of years of sitting and observing, and unlike here where you find that you look within the government, for example, when they either a president or say a prime minister, they get into power, they have their 4 or 5 years term, whatever success or whatever they make, they tend to destroy it at the end of their presidency or their prime ministership, giving space for the next president or prime minister that comes in to go back and do the same thing over again. So it's like deja vu. There's no forwardness really, whereas in the Kemetic tradition, in the Kemetic culture, it's how they were able to get to the knowledge that they have was through passing it down through the generations, through their bloodlines. So particular bloodlines really, right, they had certain responsibilities. And so like the Naba bloodline, they're on to do it. They're dealing with, like, say, the spiritual side of things, astrology, astronomy, spiritual work. So that bloodline is connected to the priesthood, and so that knowledge, for thousands of years, has been passed from the father. He takes it. He, in his reign, the aim is to try to improve upon what was there or what was given to you. And so when he comes to his time, then he would pass that on down to the next generation. So they're always advancing, because one thing we understand, like in nature, is that it's forever evolving. Nothing stands still in nature. Even the solid wood, rock, or whatever you see, if you can see it in its entirety, there's movement there is life. And so anything that comes, that stops moving, is death. And so a part of humanity's evolution is to evolve. Yeah, it's to evolve. Yeah, so we're not expecting things to stay the same. And when it does stay the same, you become complacent and you get retarded. There's no progress there. You become brain dead. There's nothing to stimulate you. So life itself is an experience that each day, probably the same thing would happen to you but in a different way. So it's going to give you a different experience. And that's what it's about. Having those experiences and facing those challenges that comes alongside with it. So we can't allow modern society to keep us, in this box, this illusion that they've kind of that they've got us in, really believing, which within this illusion, they control us by fear and terror, causing pain to many out there right now. And if you do look out there in society, you can see the terrorism that's been perpetrated, like under mass, globally, not just here. But as I would say, this is I suppose, usually they talk about world war, when really all the world wars has been really amongst Europe. But this pandemic, what's happening now, we can say that it's a global thing, really. Yeah, and it is a world war, a germ warfare on the mass of the population, on poor people, because I believe really, right, that it's going to be more poor people that's going to probably be suffering, really, and feeling the brunt of what's taking place here now. So, without apologies, we can see that it's a design thing, because they seem to have time and dates as when things are going to happen, as if they say they know, they're in tune with nature, and we know that they're not, otherwise things wouldn't be the way it is. So, that's what they're perpetrating on us. And so on a daily basis, our governments, they're making like empty promises, you know, playing on people's desperation, and they've created like dependencies that people that they have orchestrated for them, to come into to be for people to be in submission to them, because what's happening now is that many people are losing their jobs. So within this system that where I'm at now, then what's going to be happening is a lot of people are going to have to go on what they call it, like the state benefits. Therefore, their agenda to roll out these vaccination programs, we're going to have to meet criteria really to get access to what we would look at as survival money, because we're in a climate where it's winter now and nothing is growing out there too tough really, right? So in order for us to kind of to access anything out there, we need money. It's not like where you're in a climate, right, where you can actually grow your food and sustain yourself around the 365 days of the year. And so they know that. And so in order for us to they created this environment, and so in order for us to probably go and access that, because if you don't have a job and you need to eat, you're going to have the means to pay for it. And so I reckon that part of the stipulation is going to be that you're going to have to kind of take what they give you, and the part of that is going to be this vaccination program, which is going to be rolled out on the mass. And they know that people are probably not going to be willing to take it, but when you create that environment, I believe many people are going to be forced. They're going to be forced really into submission. And that's what they're doing. So I'll just give you a little tune and we'll just slowly go through this program here.
Wanting to achieve this way, it's worse than ill. I say, get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your rights, my brothers. Get up and fight for your rights, my sisters. Get up and fight for your how long they brought us down here, have us in bondage right through these years, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Fussing and fighting among ourselves.
Yeah, and that was the Abyssinians' declaration of rights, you know, and very conscious tune. Yeah, it's just a reminder for many who has forgotten what we've gone through, and that's the reason why we're here, going through what we're going through, while our brothers there on the motherland, you know, our bloodlines, we've been disconnected from them, to the extent that society has made us look at each other and fight against each other because of the false borders that they've created around us or to us. And we're just not intelligent enough, some of us really, to actually recognize that we've been misguided, you know. So yeah, that tune should remind some of us as to how we got here and why we got here, you know. And as we said, really, you can see, you know, when we can see the evidence really, like, of the government and what they've done, you know, how they've kind of manipulated and how they're guiding the people to mold them really in the direction that they want them to be. And if you go back and you look in their history, they, you know, they're very proud to kind of to write these things in their history. That's one thing with them, that they're proud, like, to record their destructions that they've perpetrated worldwide, you know. And this is what they brainwash, educate us with at school. They're calling it history. As they say, everybody has their story to tell, and that is their story. So we're waiting to tell our story, and it should be interesting. Like as we gain that consciousness of who we are and what we're here to be doing, then, as they would tell us in our initiation, now we know what we know now. We have to take that responsibility because we are writing our own history, and we understand really, like say from the age of 7, we are responsible for our actions. So yeah, we've got to keep that in mind. You know, for the young ones listening, yes, we know that you're growing, and there's a lot of things that you might not understand. But this is where the initiation, from that age, that you will be taught certain behaviors and things that is required of you. So as you grow and you come forward, you come through, then you already know your purpose and what you're supposed to be doing from what you're not supposed to be doing. And so it makes life easier. It makes growing up a little bit easier. Yeah, we're still going to be children, really, like, you know, children are children, you know. But, you know, those principles and guidelines would have been planted. Those seeds would have been planted. No different to like a farmer kind of tilling the soil and doing the preparation, putting the seed in the ground. This is what we should be doing for our children, preparing them for that mission that they come here to achieve. So, Master Neba, you know, seeing what he seen what was going on within the West, he decided that he sought permission, like say from the Gulmu kingship and the divinities or the deities that was there, and you know, they gave him permission. Yeah, he was given permission to embark on his mission to basically bridge the gap between the Western and the traditional knowledge, to change the mindset, really, to share with them what they don't know, because his aim really was to help to save humanity from the destructive path that we're following. And as we said, the West are basically the ones that's actually defining and dictating what's going on in the world at the moment, because we're dormant at the moment and we need to be woken up. And so Master Neba realized that for the benefit of humanity, for the benefit of mankind, for the survival, because, you know, let's be clear, we can't destroy what we didn't create. So the illusion to say that we can destroy the world is madness. What we can do, we can destroy the environment that we survive in. But we know that, like you leave something out there in nature, you cut a tree down, you mow the lawn, you mow the grass, you take the weed out of the ground, it will grow back, because the planet itself is a living entity, and it would rejuvenate itself. You know, just like if you cut yourself, you don't have to tell your body to start healing. It has its own intelligence within it that it starts to do what it needs to do to survive. Likewise, the planet, it also does the same thing. But what we have to understand and appreciate is that it doesn't need us. The planet was here. Life itself was here before humanity came here. Because if you think of it in a logical way, we were probably the last things they put on this planet. Because someone's not gonna create you then, because we weren't created, but you know, just for the sake of our people see that or think that they were, through the education that they've been given, that they're gonna create you first, and we need food to sustain ourselves, and the food came after. We know that food and all those things was actually the plantation, the vegetation, the birds, the animals, you know, the seas, the mountain, the rocks, the trees. All those things was here before us, and they survived. Well, I don't know, I can't put a time with it. Long before we were even considered to be put on this planet here, really. So we're just new to the planet, really, right, compared to all the things them that was there that preceded us. And so we came here and we was given dominions over those things. And, well, it's just that we don't have no appreciative value for things, really, when it's, so this is the destruction mode that the West has led us into, this path of destruction. So Master Naba then, as I said, he brought to us really a viable solution, right, to the problems that we're actually facing, really. He brought actually the blueprint, the blueprint of the perfect model, the code of human behavior. I was mentioning the 77th commandment, and this what it is. There was a stage in of humanity, right, where, as I said, we're not that important here, really, that we can't, that we can't be eradicated. And there was that time when we were at that pinnacle there where we were going to be. And so our ancestral godfather, Usa, he actually pleaded really to the gods, to the divine world, and on the behalf of humanity here. So that was given to us. So Master Naba has brought it back to us again. How ironic, that we were given an opportunity, and we've like, as they would say, fall from grace back to where we started from. That this was like the fear that Master Naba foresee, and he brought back to us the code of human behavior. Yeah, hoping that some of us will at least adhere to it. We know that not everyone is, but if the majority change, then it forces change on the remainder, whether they want it or not. So this commandment actually gave us our principles and values, that was practiced by the Nile Valley civilization. I mean, and they were the ones that actually produced the greatness that it did, things like the pyramids, that is kind of proof of when you're in tune and in harmony with nature and with the universe, with the divine world, that what might seem impossible to you, because this is a stage that humanity is now, really, where they're doing things, but they're doing things in a superficial kind of a way, and so our ancestors, they worked with nature, so what they could achieve doing things in a natural way, to this day, to this present day, we're still struggling, so it just shows you like the level of intelligence, really, the level that we were on a spiritual and physical level, that our the achievement, within the Nile Valley was phenomenal to this day. As I said, it's still there as proof of our existence, So in 1997, Master Naba arrived in the USA, they call that Manu, and started the first 3 Earth Center schools. Chicago, like being the headquarter, it still is the headquarter, being that it was the first of the school that Master Naba opened. And so more or less everything is disseminated from there, Chicago, that being the base. Now, the initiatic knowledge, is given in 3 different subjects, and those 3 subjects, it more or less covers the 360 degree of all that you would want to know. Yeah, that you have that knowledge that you can make clear decisions, really. So the 3 subjects, that would be Medu. Now, Medu is what the Greeks would call hieroglyphs. And it's actually the first language that was given to humanity, spoken by the gods, you know, and this was the language that they used to bring existence into existence. And so that's how important and powerful that language really is, as opposed to the dialects and superficial language that we've been conditioned to use, which are not language, you know. And so in the Medu, you learn about like your spirituality and philosophy in that class there, amongst loads of other things. You learn about like time division. You know, we spoke about the importance of time. You know, there's a lot that you learn from in the Medu. Now, the second class is Katibi. Katibi is where we do like meditation and yoga. You'll see like even on the temple walls, you'll see like all the different postures and things really, positions and things really that people are using now. It's there, you know, and in the Katibi, this is where we learn about how this existence came to being. We learn how we spoke about the purification, how to clean yourself, you know, how we celebrate or acknowledge or the divine holy days and ancestral days, where we learn the prayers which are taught in Medu. We say our prayers in actually in the Medu language. And so this is the Katibi class. It gives us that the understanding of those things. So it's covering your spiritual side, which is very important because we are spiritual beings. And so you have to know about yourself, really, isn't it? Otherwise we'll be lost. And I think that's the stage where we're at now. We just don't know. And so Sunt is the third subject, and in Sunt you get an understanding of how the body functions. You know, you learn about all the different organs in your body, your eyes, your brains, everything like that. You learn how to maintain it as well, like using the natural herbs and remedies, you know, working with nature. This is why Master Naba, it was so important for him to actually try to maintain that harmony with nature, that things are done as it was done from then, and you know, to maintain and keep it now as it is, because we can see the food and things that we're getting, they're all like what they would call it hybrids. So all the original properties, strains and things that was in those things have gone. So we're actually mutating, I don't know into what, but we're actually mutating really just by the virtue of the food that we're eating. It's doing that to us. If we look at some of our male children out there from a young age, a lot of them have breasts now. Yeah, they have breasts because of like all the steroids and things, the pesticides and everything that is put into the food chain. You know, you are what you eat. So therefore, if we're bombarded with a lot of all these superficial, what would I call it? I can't call it food, but it's just something that we fill our stomach with that's destroying us. Yeah, so that's the importance, really, right, of that preserving, that natural way of growing things. You know, and so we are encouraged really, or it's going to come to that stage where whether we like it or not, to survive, we're going to have to end up going back home, because this environment is not adaptable, is not suitable for us really to sustain ourselves, you know. So we learn that a cold environment is not good for us. We can see even the plants and everything, they shrivel up within the cold climate. So this is what's happening to us, that we're not functioning on as they would say, like on running on full power. No, it's far from that. So that's the sunt. And so, these classes, they're designed and they're well put together, because as you go through initiation, you can see the way that information is given to you. It's just given to you in like pieces, like you're dealing with like a jigsaw puzzle. Because that sudden shock to the brain, to how we've been conditioned to think, to look at things, really would be to the extreme that probably most of us, if it was given to us as it should be given, or it would be given, probably say to these young children from 7 years old, who are, what we would say, like in the bush, it would blow our minds. So Master Naba ingeniously figured it out really right, that we've got to get it in little stages, bite sizes, enough for our brain can take in. And even though for the little that we're getting, it can be very challenging really, right? As for those who go for initiation could tell you that it seems when you're going through it, when you're getting it, it's not much. But when you sit back and you look and you realize that you've been given a lot, and just your way, the way that your perception, the way that you look at life, look at yourself, look at things around you, you start seeing it differently. And that's when that realization comes in of you see your friends, your families, and how probably different you are to them now. And within yourself, sometimes you're open really, right? That, man, it'd be good to change in the world that they can see what you're seeing. But we understand that this journey, we know that probably within each family is not going to be everyone really, right, that's going to be able or be willing to make that commitment there. So for those really who are on the journey, they're representative really, like of their family and their bloodlines, but they're doing the work not just for themselves, because people might look at it that, he's just doing that for him. No, it's for your bloodline. So when they realize really, that someone was actually doing some work for them, even though they might not appreciate it at the time, but the benefit will come to them because they're bridging that gap, that you can get back to your ancestors and be back in contact with them, because that's what's happened. We've actually lost kind of communication with them, and so our struggles become harder and harder. And so, as I said, the classes are designed to reorientate our minds, to assist us really in seeing the world for what it is, and your purpose of what you actually come here to achieve, which that is so important, because you can come through this lifetime here and you just got no clue what you're supposed to be doing, what direction you're supposed to be taking. And so you got to make that journey again. And if you think about it, if you think that living is also hard and all the tribulation and everything that you have to go through, and some people would think, yeah man, this is so hard, why is life so hard? Well, imagine how many times you've been here before, because this is not your first time. And how many times you probably might have to come back. And you think of it, you got to go through all this again. And so, to avoid that, this is where that 77 and those challenges to say, well, if you've got to make your mind up and decide that, something, I'm going to try my hardest this time round, knowing what I came here to achieve, and try to put that energy into it to probably make it be your last time on a physical plane that you're coming back here. So that is our goal and our challenge really. And so that's what the classes help you to do, to reorientate yourself, to align yourself back to try to get back on that line that you're supposed to be on. You know, it's like on the motorway, you need to get from here to the M6 to get to Birmingham. But for some reason, you turn off on a slip road, really, right, and it's taking you somewhere else. And, you know, in a lot of cases, people get lost, you know. And some people might be lucky, they will drive around and they might have to stumble back on the main road again. So for those, yeah. But for many, they get lost in transit. Yeah. So after that, Master Naba, after he came here, really, he actually went back to Burkina Faso and established a school there in Burkina, in Ouagadougou. And not long after that, say in 2006. No. In 2008, he transitioned, 2008. And it was there that Naba Irita Shamira, his son, actually continued the great work that Master Naba started off. And you know, we have to appreciate the energy and the commitment that it takes, really. And he's actually grown the school from, say, 4, from where Master Naba left it, to now 11. So, you know, his achievement really is phenomenal, you know. And so, all those schools are on a global level, yeah. We've got 2 here in the UK. There's 2 now in Merita. That's what we call Africa, or what they would call Africa. I think there's 5 there, or 6 in our manual, and 2 there in was it Canada? Yeah. So we just say Neto Dua, both to Naba Ilita Shamira, and for Master Neb Naba Lumusa Morandenibig, for bringing to us here in the West a survival mechanism, really, for the many, or for the few that might take opportunity or advantage of it. I'm gonna give you another little tune for now.
Do you know what it means to have a revolution? And what it takes to make a solution? Fighting against oppression. Ooh, yeah. Battering down depression. Oh yeah. love one another.
Yeah, Dennis Brown, the Dennis Brown, the Prince of Reggae. Yeah, so we say welcome back to the Wisdom of the Nile show. I'm broadcasting on Bless FM on the www.blessfm radio. The studio number is 0794443136. Yes, and if you wanna, feel like you got trigger finger and you wanna dial those numbers into your phone, feel free. So I just want to give out some this quick information on the Earth Center. You can contact any of the Earth Center branches, worldwide on the earthcenter.org. From there, you'll be able to link up with wherever you are with the Earth Center School or one of the temples, wherever you are, global. And so, for the products, you can phone the London temple, which is 0208 558 3678. You can order your products. I said you can go online. There's an online service there as well. Or you can phone that number, that contact number there, read it right, and place your order. You can get, like we mentioned, all the very precious memorabilia, because they are precious. You might not appreciate them now, but you'll realize really right that within your finest of education that you get out there within this system that say that they're educating you, which is what they're actually doing. They are educating you. They're not giving you knowledge. And so these tapes, these Firefly, these magazines, the books, that's knowledge. Because these are things that's been tried and tested over thousands of years. And so this is knowledge that's been passed down. This is not something that someone just conjure up from somewhere and saying that, we want to make you understand that the difference between knowledge and education is completely two different things. And this is why they take our children away from us from a young age, to educate them. What they're actually doing is schooling and conditioning our children to conform to society's norm, which is leading them to destruction. And so when we spoke about the rite of passage, that's what should be happening, but that's not what they're getting. So we mentioned about the Ejpata. They're nice little books really for children, really, and adults. I like read minds, really. As you can see, most time we probably might read one from on the show and things, really, right, because they're thought-provoking. They make you think. They're parables. The concepts behind them. You can apply them in all different aspects in your life. And so it's a really nice little book to have. Easy, it's small. You can put it in your handbag wherever you're going. That's a nice little book to go. And we also have Coventry School. What's the number for the Coventry School? Here it is. It's 0247-626-6859 and 0730599594. Yeah. And the Earth Center inquiries at UK, inquiries -UK at the earthcenter.org, and center is spelled TER, yeah, Earth Center. And you can get us on the Kepta UK, and that's the information for now. Yeah. So we'll get back our topic this week as well, though, really. I don't know if you caught onto it, really, right, is fear. And it's ironic, really. That's what people are going through now, really. What is fear? I mean, you know, it is one of those natural kind of human emotions, really, that we're born with. That you know, I mean, society will, you know, it's. I would say that fear, which is one of our many instincts, many senses that we have, and basically, fear is that what helps to protect you from danger. It's that kind of a alarm bell that make you realize that something is happening. So it helps to protect us from danger, and it prepares us really to take actions, really. You know, whether they're dangerous, whether that danger is on a physical or a psychological level, it's that alert mechanism to say, something is wrong there, really, right? So be mindful, be careful, you know, approach with caution, you know. And so without that, really, probably, like, for example, you think of it, you're sitting there and a car is coming towards you, that natural fear of life, survival or whatever, is going to make you take action, you know. So it was this society tell you that you got 5 senses, but I think we got much more senses than that, really. Many more senses, really, than what they, I think they're trying to dumb you down, really, right, to make you shut down on yourself by telling you that, so you don't access and use those which you have, you know. So fear is one of those natural kind of sense that you're born with, really, and that's what it does, you know. You know, so fear itself, I mean, there's so many different type of fears that we have, but fear itself leads to anxiety, or it can lead to anxiety. You know, you get frightened, you're scared, and that tension, that stress, everything there is building up. And if you allow it to overcome you, because it's, you know, as I said, it's fear is a good thing, but you have to be, like in anything else, have that balance. We call it like the Eru set. Yeah, if you let it, there's that fine line. And if you allow it, this is where it can bring you into that state of anxiety, you know, as opposed to being that protective mechanism that we use it for. And so, within that fear and that anxiety, obviously we can know that now stress and depression, when that kicks in, we know that stress is a big killer out there that triggers off so many other things in our bodies, in our mind. And so some of us will probably end up with chronic illnesses, really, you know, anxiety, as we said, like people don't want to leave their house. They just become scared. And it can bring on like mental illness. You know, we see many cases out there where people are suffering from mental illness because of fear, you know, because of their anxiety. And so, it's got its positive and it's got its negative to it, you know. They say fear starts in the brain, and the part of the brain that they attribute fear to start from is called amygdala. And what that does, that activates and triggers off it starts off that process of the motor functions, neurons in your body, in your head, in your brain. So it triggers that to kick in. Yeah. And that will lead to this fight or flight kind of mode that we have, really, so this is where that's or supposedly where that stimulation is actually coming from. As we know that most things start from in the mind as well, though, really, so that's not surprising that fear and things like that is actually, it's a sense, it's probably, fear is one of those things that you could say that it's a natural thing, but it could be learnt as well, or let's put it this way, different type of fear could be learned, or you could be exposed to different type of fear, which could be imposed on you, by someone externally, by someone else. I remember doing martial art, and part of what they did, one of the things that they taught us really, is stop and take a deep breath. Take a slow, deep breath. Try to fill your lungs, fill your diaphragm, so you're taking deep breath, not shallow breaths. And that allow the body to calm itself, because that's what you're trying to do now, to relax your body, to relax, to try to alleviate that stress, because that's what it is. And so if you can have that discipline, that control whenever that kicks in, then taking those deep breaths really would help to stabilize you. Just slow deep breaths. You take that, say you breathe in, say count to 5, breathing in, hold it, say perhaps for a couple seconds, and then breathe out, probably through your mouth as well, helping you to expel all that carbon dioxide. We know that breathing is one of the most important things, because we breathe oxygen, we breathe in to live, basically. If we stop breathing, we'll die. And so from a baby we breathe the right way, but as we grow older, in a lot of things, we try to find shortcuts. And so it's important really that we learn how to breathe properly, because we're learning how to live properly then, and it's giving you longevity in life as well. And most of us don't breathe properly, hence why we end up with a lot of problems and things out there. Simple things like, if you think of it, you go and drink a cold drink and it shocks the body, so everything contracts. So you're restricting the lungs and its movements and things like that. So we're not doing no justice really when we don't breathe properly. So in times like that, where you have that, you try to assist yourself by breathing properly. Now, as I said, there's so many different types of fear, and we can look at facing the unknown. That could be quite fearful and challenging, because we're used to what we're familiar with, and the unknown could be very scary. The uncertainty, because you just don't know what's coming. So what you end up doing really is you end up containing yourself and not allowing yourself really to probably progress and to develop as you should, because we know that we should be cautious in life, and we don't know a lot of things, so we have to be open for new things to come to us. Just something simple like moving just from one place to the other, moving from one job to the other. That could be very fearful for a lot of people, not knowing who their next neighbor going to be like, and so on, really, right? So sometimes people just decide that, something, I'm going to stay put and restrain themselves from, from actually progressing and doing what they should be doing. So it's that comfort that we take, that we don't want to release, we don't want to let go of it, So we're because we're used to, we're comfortable with the things that we're familiar with, and it makes us feel safe. That's what it does. We all want to feel safe or be safe. So when we're not sure about something, it's like, it's like that unknown, it just makes your imagination kind of run wild. It gallops away from you, really, right? Then, as they would say again, initiation, you end up building dams, because all these different thoughts, all these different things that's coming into your mind, you're putting up blocks now as the reasons why you shouldn't be doing things, because you just, that uncertainty, and sometimes there's probably good things ahead of you, but you just don't know because you didn't face it. And that's one of the hardest things for us to do in life, is actually to face ourselves, to face certain challenges, really, right? Because I said we're just used to comfort, that's surety of we're safe, and so we put up blocks for ourselves, shutting ourselves down, really, and stopping ourselves from growing, And as I said before, we're supposed to evolve. So, when we don't do, then we're stopping ourselves from evolving, So, because we know that with knowledge, that's the unknown. Is, if you gain knowledge of something that you you didn't know about, and it's stopping you, then to try to overcome that, then that means you'd have to you're gonna have to kind of say, make yourself, or try to find out about what you're unsure about, just rather than not doing anything and doing things. You can, like some people, for example, you want to move somewhere, but you're uncertain of the area, and because you think that area is whatever, you just don't do it. But some people, they would actually go and sit there, go over there for different time throughout the day, and just see the movement, what's going on. And at least now you've given yourself some sort of information that then you can be more informed. So that unknown now becomes something that you know now. So then now you can make that commitment there, or make a better choice of more informed decision and choice to say, well, okay, then rather than not doing anything, now you've given yourself a chance, really, because you've gone out there, and because knowledge is power, as we know. So that's what it comes down to. The unknown is because we don't know. So the best way forward from there is to try to equip yourself and go and know. Rather than just not doing anything and sitting there and saying, well, I don't know, go and find out. The same time you spend sitting there not knowing, it's the same time you could spend out there going and knowing, right? And then you can move forward from there. As I say, it might mean that you might want to go and change your job, but with that fear of uncertainty, you don't go, or you don't. So, just go out and, we're all kind of, most of us are on the internet, business companies, all these places, they're all listed out there now, really. Everybody's promoting themselves out there, really, declaring what they're doing or whatever. So the information is there. So don't restrict yourself, on your life journey. You don't really look at things in a good or a bad way. Because without those experiences, because that's what they are, they're experiences in life. And if you take away all the experiences that you have, would there be life? So that's what they are. So you have to have those experiences for you to go forward. So take advantage of them, take advantage of them. So if you're not sure, just, go out there and research and make yourself more informed, really, and give yourself a chance. Because, life is a game of chances, which means that each decision we make, it carries a certain amount of risk to it, And we must realize that there's no certainty in anything apart from death. That's the only thing that we're certain of, right? That we're going to die. And but everything else, there's no certainty about that. Is it going to rain tomorrow, or isn't it? Even the forecast might tell you that it is, but nature says something differently. So only nature would know certain things out there, and we'll probably find out at the last minute. Probably that's not true quite really, because as I said, in the tradition, really, right, they have means really like of reading the earth energy, and so that's one of the things that that Omtam offers out there as well. Energy, earth, Bayawadi readings, and that's there you can you can find out basically a lot of things, really. They read you and they tell you basically what's going on in your life. And they're quite accurate, really. So I had to backtrack there, really, right? So you can know, if you know what to do, So again, but still, it doesn't mean to say that that everything is written in stone. It's not. Because there's always movement within the universe, so there's always movement for things to change. So we have to be mindful of that. Have to be hoping for changes. So, as I said, death is the only certainty that we know that we're going to experience in life. Everything else we don't know. So that becomes one of humanity's biggest fear. Death. And more so for the people in the modern Western world, that don't have that understanding of what death really is. There's that saying that they have, you only live once. And as we said, we know that we don't just live once. So what you find there, because you only live once, it makes people very dangerous, really, right? Just that saying, when you think about it, because anything goes. Because, you feel really right that that's it, once you're gone. So it doesn't really matter. That's how some people think. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? I'm not going to be here tomorrow to have to justify nothing, so what does it matter? And that's the carelessness, really, in modern Western culture, that it opens that door for so much corruption there. Because then people don't take responsibility for the things that they're doing, because there's consequences to everything that we do. And if people were conscious and aware that it's not so. We don't just live once, and we're talking about the reincarnation. Yeah, well, we find out really right that initiation, you learn a lot of things really that it's not what modern society define to you. That's what it is. It makes you irresponsible. That's what it does. Yeah, that's what it does. It makes you irresponsible. So that fear when death comes, yeah, they think that that's the end of their existence, that they would cease to exist no more, because they don't really understand that concept of death, really, what really that it is. Initiation, it teaches us that our ancestral godfather Wusa, alongside his brother Set, they were given the choice of, two ways to live out their eternity, when they were created. So when we talk about creation, they were the ones that was created, not us. Yeah. And so Set, he chose the linear path. What that path is just that you just live. You just exist. You don't get old, you don't eat, you don't do all the things that human being goes through. He doesn't have that experience. No, he doesn't. So, in a sense, really, right, that he just live. It's just like a lonely child or our own child, really, right, that is spoilt in a sense. You've never had to share or anything like that, so it's just me. So he just exists. Whereas Wusa now, his brother, he chose the cyclical path, the cyclical principle, which is birth, life, death, back in reincarnation. Remember, as I said, this is not our first time here. So that reincarnation is to come back here again, right? And so, giving birth to humanity, and through them, it was through Wusa that basically gave birth to humanity. Yeah, this principle that he chose. Otherwise, probably we wouldn't exist. And it's through him choosing this principle, we know we live, we can see within ourselves. We're born, we go through birth, we go through life, we go through death. We see nature, the trees, we see the leaves are falling now, we see things dying, and then spring, autumn, all these things come back, and things that cycle. That's what it is. A cycle. It's a continuous cycle. So Wusa, he chose to live his eternity through us. Yeah. So he reincarnates in us, through us. So this is why when he pleaded to the gods, it was because he chose that principle as well. So that was like his eternity as well. Although he's a god and he can't die, but that was he had that human experience, and through that's how we came into existence. Yeah. So Wusa was the birth to humanity, and through them he lived out his eternity through us. Yeah. So the Kemetic people, like being the first people on the planet, like they understood these principles, and they realized that not to fear death, because death is the way back into life. It's that cycle, because there is life and then there is the existence. And so what we're having is a life experience, And when we die, we go back into that existence. And if we're lucky, we come back into life again. As I said, the 77 is one of those things that define like who comes and who goes. So that's how important that code of human behavior is to humanity, you know, and how their existence plays out. Because we can get to a stage where you cease to exist. That can happen to us. So not everybody really is going to have that eternity. Yeah. So the traditional concept of life and death makes death like welcoming, expressly, when you live your life according to the principles of the divine code of human behavior, and you're living in harmony with nature. Because as I said, all that was before us, nature was there before us, and it will be when we're gone. We came here with nothing. Nature was here. And when we leave with nothing, and nature is still going to be here. Yeah. So there was no fear, because it wasn't no challenge to them really to adhere to these principles, really. Our Kemetic ancestors, yeah. You know, it was, for them it was more like paying reverence, you know, to the divine world, giving honor and respect where it was due, you know, to the ancestors and to the divine world, as opposed to it being like a challenge or something really, right, that was restricting, you know. So, yeah. Now, it's very hard really to face yourself. Yeah, that's another challenge. The fear of actually seeing yourself and who you are. Many of us probably can't face ourselves, you know. And this is what initiation does as well. It makes you have to face yourself, face your challenges. You can't change what you're not aware of, what you don't realize, you know. So it is you knowing yourself and seeing yourself, therefore then you can make changes, or the required changes that you need to make to go forward in your life. And so that fear of seeing all your corruption in your life and having to, you know, as I say, to realize that there is something wrong, and having that courage to apply, to put into motion the action that you need, right, to make the changes that you require for you to evolve, you know. Because sometimes we see things going and we know that they're going wrong, but you know, it's that comfort zone again, or that effort really to apply certain things. It's probably just easy to just let it pass on. So it does take a certain amount of commitment and power, willpower, strength, you know, courage really, right, to apply that action there. Sorry. So that is something that that is very challenging for us, to actually having to be, to looking at ourselves, to that fear again. I don't want to know. It's best if I don't know. So if I don't know, then I ain't got to do anything. So it's best left that way. Yeah. But that is not the way forward, really. But we do look at it as an option, really, because it is an easy option, you know. Especially sometime when you look at it, that the stress that society is putting you through, you know, you've had a hard day at work, all the different challenges and things that you meet there, and then now you've got to, like for example, come into initiation now, really, right, and have those extra challenges in the little free time that you have. But that's the difference now, you see, that because you've only got that small amount of time, people just look at it and think, well, that's the only time that I got, so why should I waste it going through initiation or doing something like that? But then it's like working and you're in a job, but you need to get the qualification to probably to move on because you're stuck there, you're not happy, but you're not doing anything. You need this qualification, extra qualification to get that job. So you then got to make that decision, that choice. Then you're going to have to make that sacrifice, for as long as it takes to make those changes, to get those changes that you want. Otherwise, you're going to be static in that same position, and then nothing will change. So, yeah, we mustn't be fearful to challenge ourselves, because sometimes it's that fear of failing and losing face. It's like running in a race and coming last. You don't want to be the one, coming in really, right? So in some cases, people won't bother run, But in some cases, it's not about the position that you come in. It's about competing, being there, applying yourself, because it's not the winning. This society is the one that actually, this Western society has actually put that on us, really, that you're nothing if you was to come last. You could be running with an handicap. Someone could be, there's all different reasons why you might not have come first, or, but the main thing is you put yourself forward there. In my life, there's so many different challenges, really, I face. Nerve to stand in front of a public speech or something like that. I'd be very nervous. And that's part of fear, innit? That's kind of shutting me down, to the stage where you probably end up getting mental blocks and things like that. That's how fear can actually impact on you. But there are techniques that probably you can learn, really, right, to try to overcome that. Again, rather than saying you can't do it, it is about going out there and teaching yourself, really, and then eventually you'll get there. I remember reading this thing with Marcus Garvey when he first went to America, and the first speech that he did, it was a flop. Yeah, he was very despondent, really, and he was walking, going home or wherever he was going, and apparently he said that he passed, it was some park or something like that where there was a church convention going on, and he heard a speaker speaking there, and he thought, okay, this brother sounds, interesting, or the way that he was delivering his information. And Marcus Garvey said he actually went there, and he listened to this person. He took note of how this guy was presenting his sermon. And his next presentation that he did, was a lot better than the first. So you see, he could have given up. He was despondent and thing, but he went and sought how he could do differently and better, and it worked for him. So sometimes we have to persevere, really, to get to where we really want to get to, because it's easy not to challenge yourself and just say, I can't do it. It is easy to do that. I do it, and I'm sure many other people do it. It is a way out, really. It's an easy way out, really, but it's not getting you nowhere. And that's how fear can be so damaging, so debilitating, really, because that's what it does. It breaks you up into pieces. if you don't have that control. And we know that from failure, or what we call it, like that experience, comes success. Because if you're already down, there's only one other direction that you can go in, really, right, and it's forward, really. As they say, if your back is against the wall, you've got nowhere else to go to but forward from there. So it enables you to learn and to make the necessary adjustment you need, right, to be persistent, to be like tolerant with yourself, to be patient, and that could lead to your success. Yeah, it can do. But so you can't give up because you fell. You shouldn't give up. Sometimes it's just something testing you to say, did you really want this? I'm going to see if you really want it. So I'm going to put like just a little obstacle in your way just to see if you really did want this. And so that's that test that you go through, really. Initiation, would say that life is a slow uphill journey, because when you're going up a hill, it's not as fast as when you're going down. So we're saying initiation, life itself, is an uphill journey. And so, in that uphill journey, we speak about nature. Nature will challenge you. It will do that. But after each challenge, and you think that, like, yeah, you've overcome that, and you've got it licked, you think, yeah, it throws another one at you, right? So that's where that evolution comes in, that evolving, right? Where you're not static, really, right? So there's always another hurdle. So it just shows you that knowledge is infinite. There's always something that you can add on to make yourself, to improve yourself, to make yourself better. And that's what nature does. It throws things at you, As Master Naba would say, you can't get to where you want to get to on the back of someone else, especially if they're going in the direction that you're, in the opposite direction to where you're going. So that only leaves you like two choices. Is either you go where that person wants to go or is going, or you get off that person back and you make your way to where you want to go. Because that easy ride is not always the best ride to have, Yeah, so we have to make certain decisions as well. And this is the position that most of us are in. We're riding on someone else's back. We're building someone else's dream for them. And your dreams are just left there static, untouched. Master Naba also told a story of the loser, the winner and the loser. And he said that there's to try to do something and not succeed, it doesn't make you a loser. To get something and not having to apply yourself or to do anything for it, that doesn't make you a winner. But the person who apply themselves, who face their challenge, face their fears, you would probably fall down, you got to get back up, and you're challenging yourself, really, and then you probably eventually reach to where you want to get to. It wasn't easy, but you got there. Now you can look at yourself as a winner. because you went through the struggle to get what you wanted, you know. And so he's saying that a loser, a real big loser, is someone who also tries to justify the reason why they lost. Psychologically, what he's saying, if you can make up an excuse really why you lost, you're like a waste of space really. Because the time you're going to spend thinking, find the words to justify why you lost, is the same way you can use that same time to find a way to succeed. And many of us, we know we've gone through slavery, like black people who have been enslaved by, colonialism, that kind of stuff there. We go like on reparation march, things like that. And we have to stand up, really, because, it's to a certain extent. But, yeah, it's one of those things where we have to take control of ourselves, really, take responsibility, like, for our actions, yeah. As we say, life is about challenging ourselves, and when a baby is learning to walk, usually, their first few steps and things, they would fall over, and if they're scared of falling, they're going to end up walking late. But for those, because, the falling is a part of the standing, and so that is a part of that cycle of falling to rise. And then after you've experienced those experiences, and each fall they make, they're learning probably what not to do or how to do it better next time round. So we mustn't take our falls as that's it, it can't be done, that's it, I don't have the time. You have to be patient with ourselves, we have to be patient, really, and from that patient, really, perseverance, then perhaps this is where we will see, like, our success, so it's a process. It's one of that process that we have to go through. That that is a part of the journey. Falling. So in those difficult times of fear, you can call upon your ancestors. We're given, like, Ekahu's words of powers to empower us, there are some of the, as I said, in the book of purification, there's a lot of information in there that could assist you and help you to strengthen yourself. So that's a very good book, really, to have there, really. There's a lot of things in there that you can use to help to elevate yourself, to arm yourself with knowledge, real knowledge, as opposed to be educated with nonsense. Yeah. And yeah, so we see, like, Western religion, it tells us we must fear God and obey His commandment. What are they trying to do there? What happened? What happens? They make themselves into gods now. So when they say you should fear God and serve Him, now they've elevated themselves to be God. So now you're serving man as God. Well, man can't be God, right? So we know that. So we're not here to serve man, yeah. But this is who they've made themselves into, gods. You know, they become, well, not my God, but our gods in a sense. And but they use this fear, right, to control us, you know, by means, you know, of their barbaric man-made laws, really, you know, that really, they don't really have no value to them, you know, apart from them making money from them. And we can see, like, as they say, we have like what they call it common law, and we have what they call it admiralty law. And so the statutes and things that is actually kind of that's governing us, they're not actually laws, really. They're statutes and act. And the word act is when you're mimicking something, it's not real. So they're acting out a philosophy or a concept on us, and at the same time, really, right, they're penalizing us and enriching themselves from it as well, and calling it laws. Now, I'm not telling people to go out there and rebel or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but just be aware, really, right, that you as a human being, you do have your common law. It's your right as a human being, right, to be, you know, to have certain rights out there. But the restriction that society is imposing on people now, this is where the fear, people are frightful to come out of their house. People are frightened to do things now that they normally would do. Because what? They've imposed on them, really, you know, these corruption, you know, that they call laws, right, to contain us, to control us. Yeah. But they're just actually making money. And we can see, like in this pandemic, how they've restructured a lot of things out there, and a lot of people has been, I myself got caught up in it, like, you know, they've changed up the road structures, things like that. People, you know, bad signposting, things like that. People, you know, roads and things like that that people used to go down. They've changed it up on them. And so people are falling in entrapment, really, like, of the way that they structured thing and designed it. And, you know, before you know it, they put up cameras and everything there. So they got it all sussed out, all planned, really, right? So they don't really need no one standing there. This is what technology has done. And you get these fines dropping through your letterbox. And in some cases, you're not even conscious and aware that you've done anything wrong, you know. And that's how they're doing it. You know, that's how they're doing it. You know. So we have to be strong, you know, and have no fear, like our father Eru, you know, and Eru was the son of Aishat and Wusa. And Eru, you know, was asked, when he went through his initiation, you know, he was asked certain questions, and one of them was his obligation that he has to his father. And it was to fight for his father and to reclaim his kingdom. And, you know, he couldn't be fearful. And right now, the position that we're in, you know, the system is what we would call a Setarian system. And as I said before, there's two principles, really, right, that started this off. The linear and the cyclical principles. That's Wusa and Set. And they both have the right to exist. So we mustn't be fooled to think that we can destroy something that is eternal. But in initiation, we're learned or we're taught that we can try to contain that evil. Yeah, and that's the way that we're taught how to conquer it. You know? And so that's what we're here for. We're here to fight for our Father's kingdom, fight for our ancestors, the vows that they took, you know, on the 19th of Tahuti, which that was the day when that 77th commandment was given to humanity, right? When we was given that chance really to still exist here on the planet, you know. So Master Naba's goal, you know, when he took this crusade to the west here really was to build a race of super intelligent human beings, you know. And he said like that even when your enemies look at you, when they look at you and they see you, they would fear you, you know, because they can see the difference and the strength and the power within you. Because you're standing firm now, you're standing with nature, so you've got all that force behind you. Yeah, because you're standing for something that exists. Not for something superficial that you can't see, that erode, that would, you know, it plays no relevance in your life, apart from the values that they give you, that you adhere to, you know. And in your death, or when death comes, you realize that they actually meant nothing, you know. But your mind has been captured and warped into believing that these things are the sum total of why you're here, but they're not, you know. So yeah. So Master Naba's aim, as I said, really right, was to create this super intelligent human being. And so how we have to do that is the strength, the energy that you're going to be putting into someone else. He's saying, because we spend our whole life putting most of our energy into the system, we don't have much left for ourselves. But the same energy that we put into the system, if we were to put that into ourselves, because that's where our power lies, because ultimately, if you think of it, we are the system. If everybody was to down tool and just stand and not do anything, there wouldn't be no system out there. Yeah. So you are the power. It's just that you don't realize and know that you are the power and the power that you have. You know? So you have to realize that, you know, and let go of that fear which contain you, that keep you in that box. You know, that they say, are you in the box or outside the box? Well, you know, when you think of it, really, right, it's like a trick question, that is, when you think of it, because you're going to probably try to think, okay, then I'm different. And you're looking at it to think, well, those in the box are the ones that's being contained. So therefore, if I put myself outside of the box, then I'm free. But you think of the psychology in it, there wasn't no box to begin with. So either way, they catch you, because there is no box. We put ourselves in that box, you know, that illusionary box. We put ourselves in it and outside of it when there wasn't a box in the first place. So that's how they catch us out, really, you know, because you think that, oh, I'm outside of the box. Yeah, but you're thinking how crazy you are. There wasn't no box in the first place, mate. So you're crazy enough to think that you put yourself outside of something that really didn't exist. And that's how they got us thinking that there is a box, and you're in or outside of the box when there ain't. So we've got to realign ourselves and make that realization that no box exists. So, yeah. So when we look at how many of our elderly people who are afraid of getting old, and they're living on hope. And in some cases, now dying alone because of this COVID thing here. Families can't even, they're not even allowed in some cases now. I've heard of cases where people's loved ones are in hospital, or people have been told stay away from their families because they're contaminated. And this is the mental thing, really, that they've created an imaginary thing, really, right? Because we know that they've been falsifying figures and things like that out there, and it's people now are in that state of panic and fear because they don't know what's true, that unknown, they just don't know. And so it's a divide and control. That's what they're doing. Yeah. Because if there's no unity, there is no strength. And we know in the Kemetic culture that the family is your strength. So now, before it was, you can't socialize outside of your family. Now, you can't even socialize within your family. Now that's gone deep now, really, isn't it? When you think of it. So, you're on your own, and so we've got all these elderly people out there that's on their own, and they're dying alone. How sad, in a sense, really, that you give all to this system here, to your families and everything like that, and then you come to that stage in your life where, yeah, we'll come here by ourselves and we're going to go by ourselves. But to the way that they design things, that's not the way probably it should be. But that's the way that they have it. And so they're using this COVID thing really to basically to contain us. Yeah. And we know that there's an agenda. It's been there for a long time. It's not something that's come up new. We can see the agenda that they have. We can see that Africa is the least affected out there, but yet they choose that has a place of doing their sampling on us. So we can see where their agenda lies, the extermination of the black race. And that's always been on their agenda. Because what we have to acknowledge is that when you look at the continent of Africa, that's probably the only place, really, right, that's not had no, what they would call it, the destruction, disasters and things like that. Because it is still a sacred place, and they know that, because all your resources, your food, all the things in that you need to survive in this world is there, and that hurts them. Yeah, they've tried many ways really to eradicate you. We've seen them drop bombs, really, right? Like in Ethiopia, mustard gas. They couldn't even. It was, they've used these sinister weapons that they put out there, weapons of mass destruction. But they realized that they might be effective, but they can't get to what they want to get to because they contaminate it. So now I think they've figured it out, really, right, that germ warfare is like is a quiet way of doing things. Yeah, very quiet and effective. Yeah. So it's like they we go back to the 77 commandment, yeah, and there's two of these commandments that like stuck out to me really with what's going on now, and that's commandment like 39, thou shalt not cause pain, and commandment 48, it says, thou shalt not cause terror. But look what they're doing out there, the amount of pain they're causing out there, and the terror. Now it depends how you want to define terror, but the terror of the mind, that is really kind of that is really a bad one really to have, anything to do with your mental state really, and these are the regimes really, right, that they are kind of that we're living under, now as people's mind are being terrorized, and they're constantly bombarding us really with persistently with negative information out there, on this pandemic, so it's like a mind control that they're actually kind of using on you. So people fears of not seeing a future. That's one of the fears that they have. They don't see like a future ahead of them. In a lot of cases, we probably see a lot of these youths out there going to school. You've got to applaud them really for still sticking it out, because they could easily say, what for? Especially like now, you see people losing their job, businesses shutting down. You're thinking, well, hold on, what's the point of me going through all this? Because it's very challenging for some of them really, right? The time and energy that they have to put in studying, the commitment, the dedication, but they still have to hold on to some kind of a hope, which is good that they can still do that, and applaud the parents who actually still motivate them and encourage them not to give up, because it's easy to give up really with what's going on out there, and so we see people losing their jobs, their homes, their sanity, and it's going to get worse. Modern man has brought this world, right, into a point where humanity, right, and certain species are threatened by them, by their destructive agendas, and they lack the humility to admit, right, that they've got it wrong, but within their desperation, right, to hold on to something, their nature has always been that, just like a child throwing a tantrum, is, if I can't have it, then you can't have it. So that's where the destruction comes into it. There's a lot more that we could say with fear, One of the ones in that kind of I asked fellow initiate really, like, what do you think about fear? What kind of fear could you remember having? And it was funny, this one that he came up with was the fear of remembering when he was a small little child, right? And his mum coming to him with the belt to beat him, and I'm sure we could all kind of remember how fearful that must have been, really, Yeah. But this fear is just a deep topic, really, right? Because it's just in so many different aspects of our lives, really. On that note, I'm going to play you this little tune here and see.
Render your heart and not your garments. The truth is there for who have eyes to see. Partiality has no place in this judgment.
It's a slight little technical there. It's trying to recover this tune. Okay, just having a bit of problems. Let's try this one. Okay. No, it's not coming through. Okay, I'll play that one in. I'll just play that tune and play out. It's not coming through. The Makaru, yeah. Okay, so we're having some difficulties, and yeah, so we're just going to come to a close now. And so, once again, we're just going to read out the contact number for the Earth Center is 0208 5583678, and that's the number that you can get through at the temple, the school, to order, like, your books or your CDs and so forth. Or, as I said, you can go on the earthcenter.org site, really, depending on where you are, and that would link you into like all the different temples worldwide. And from there, really, then you're able to kind of go online, really, and make these purchases, yeah. So it was a very interesting topic. I think there's a lot more that could be said on it, really. As we say, there's not one answered solution, really, right, to people overcoming their fear. But we know that it is a part of our life, and it's a necessary part of our life. So, as I was saying prior, really, yeah, the same thing is happening, isn't it?
Your art and not your garments. The truth is there for who have eyes to see. Partiality has no place in this judgment. Remember the words of prophecy. Children run, come to truths and rights. That's what I'm about. You know the truths and rights. Teach it to the children. You know the truths and rights. Teach it to the children, but they should know. No, 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 no. Children say a little prayer a night before you go to sleep. 'Cause tomorrow is promised to no one. When you think it's peace and safety, Lord, it could be sudden destruction. 'Cause we know, yes we know. Words to you. Remember the word I am saying to you right now. And for tomorrow and henceforth I say, render your hearts and not your garments. The truth is there for who have eyes to see. Partiality has no place in this judgment. Just remember the words of prophecy. I say, children run, come, the truths and rise. That's what I'm about. You know the truths and rise. Teach it to the children. Run, come, the truths and rise. That's what I'm about.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, and I'm just like to say duao, which is saying as thanks to all who's listening, for tuning in, and we want to say duao. That's again to bless FM radio for giving us the Earth Center the opportunity to put out Master Naba's work, and we're very grateful for him bringing us here to us. And so for this week's show, Nahibsa Nesabik, just saying Iriru to everyone, and look forward to seeing you again in the near future. Wow.
This song goes in the memory of the beloved Prophet Nebnabala Musa Morodinabig, the Dogon Prince, Maher, the truth teller, Bisina Basa, which means I'll be appreciated after I'm gone. He's the man who overcome the devils with love. He's the man who speaks because he has something to say. The man of wisdom, the definition of humanity. Maheru, Maheru, Maheru. I'm from far away, I'm from far away, far away, from far away. Shafiq, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, Musa, far away, Nabi, far away, from far away, Prophet Naba, far away, from far away, from far away, Prophet, far away. He's the man of wisdom. He's the man who lives by faith, and not by fear. His greatest wealth is the richness of his soul. He's the man who lives by faith and not by fear. He's the double-edged sword. He's the double-edged sword. He's the key to unlock the treachery. Follow truth and you shall find him. He's the definition of humanity. He's the beginning and the end. He's the emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophet while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We got it full for the boy. Come to Maheru, come to Maheru, come to Maheru. You got your own told story. I'm from far away, I'm from far away.